Hello, my name is Jessica Severson. I am a consultant with Adamus Consulting. Welcome to the COVID-19 Guidance on the Management of Clinical Trials podcast. The COVID-19 pandemic has imposed unprecedented challenges on sponsors, investigator sites, and clinical trial participants. The potential risks of this global COVID-19 outbreak include a rise in good clinical practice noncompliance, an increase in the number of protocol deviations, insufficient evidence of sponsor and investigator oversight, interruptions to the investigational product supply chain, and insufficient documentation of the site-specific risks. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the European Medicines Agency have provided considerations for sponsors and investigator sites to maintain GCP compliance during the COVID-19 outbreak. The first consideration is risk assessment. Sponsors and investigator sites should perform a risk assessment of each individual ongoing trial and implement appropriate measures to ensure subject safety and data validity. In case these two principles conflict, subject safety always prevails. Sponsors and investigator sites should perform and document reassessment as the situation develops, and consider investigator-driven risk assessment for escalation in the local pandemic situation. Considerations for operational measures include implement contingency measures to manage the study conduct during the COVID-19 disruption. All amendments in the study should be documented. Engage with the IRB or IEC for any anticipated urgent changes to the protocol as a result of COVID-19. Work with the IRB IEC to define procedures to prioritize reporting of deviations impacting the safety of trial participants. Capture specific information in the CRF explaining the reason for the missing data, including their relationship with the COVID-19 pandemic, and summarize in the clinical study report. Assess the impact on data management and/or statistical analysis plans in consultation with the applicable National Competent Authority review. Seek out alternative procedures, whether via telephone or video conference, to obtain reconsent of patients in the event that physical reconsent is not possible. Put a temporary halt on the trial at some or all trial sites or extension of the trial duration as applicable. Suspend or reduce trial participant recruitment. Submit permanent changes of the principal investigator as a result of COVID-19 and, if required, by the National Competent Authority and the IRB and IEC. A third consideration is in regard to protocol deviations and documentation. Both the FDA and EMA have recognized that COVID-19 may result in an increase of protocol deviations and noncompliances with protocol-specific procedures. Sponsors are expected to manage such deviations as per their standard deviation management process. Deviations should be documented in the clinical study report. In the U.S., the appropriate FDA review division should be consulted regarding protocol modifications for the collection of efficacy endpoints, such as use of virtual assessments or delay in the assessment. Failing to obtain efficacy assessments should be documented. As per EMA guidance, protocol waivers remain unacceptable and patients should not be enrolled without proper eligibility assessment and without written informed consent according to the national laws and regulations. Sponsors and investigator sites also need to consider alternative supply chain measures by creating alternative secure delivery and appropriate storage arrangements for the IMP that can be distributed for self-administration as per local guidance. For IMP that require healthcare settings for administration, sponsors should develop alternative administration processes, for example, home nursing, alternative sites by trained but non-study personnel. Where IMP redistribution is required, sponsors should follow a written procedure established in cooperation with the qualified person or the person responsible for the distribution of IMP. Where remote qualified personnel certification is employed, it must be described and controlled within the pharmaceutical quality system. Accurate and up-to-date information must be available to support batch certification and release. The qualified person must also be able to demonstrate they are fulfilling their wider duties. The sponsor is responsible for ensuring that alternative shipping and storage arrangements should not compromise the treatment blinding. Sponsors and investigator sites also need to consider their communication with authorities. Where sponsors or investigators may have taken immediate actions to protect trial participants against immediate hazards as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, any significant change in the benefit-risk balance of the trial should be immediately communicated with the National Competent Authority and the IRB-IEC as applicable. Finally, sponsor and investigator sites should consider travel limitations. In the event where trial participants cannot visit the investigator site for protocol-specified visits, sponsors should evaluate alternative methods, whether phone or video conference visits, or postpone or complete cancellation of the visits as applicable. If the COVID-19 pandemic limits the trial participant to perform critical laboratory tests, imaging, or other diagnostic tests at the site, such tests can be conducted at the local laboratory or relevant clinical facilities that are authorized or certified to perform such tests routinely. Ensure that these alternative methods are adequately documented and data protection and data integrity requirements are taken into consideration. In light of these considerations by the U.S. FDA and EMA, Adamas Consulting has developed an alternative to the traditional investigator site audit to enable sponsors to monitor and maintain compliance in these exceptional times. The remote quality investigator site assessment is designed to afford the highest possible degree of sponsor oversight and reassurance during the pandemic and is supported by our encrypted file sharing tool to enable secure exchange and access to documents. If you would like to learn more, please download our Quality Investigator Site Assessment Guide on our website, www.adamasconsulting.com, or feel free to email us at info@adamasconsulting.com.